the silence just shattered. No teaser, no PR rollout, no cryptic caption, just a voice. And when Pierre finally spoke about his split from Teyana Taylor, the internet didn't just react, it detonated. Because this wasn't the clean, we wish each other well, Hollywood script everyone expected. This was layered, measured, and quietly devastating. In a late-night interview that wasn't promoted and wasn't clipped in advance, Aaron leaned forward and said one sentence that flipped the entire narrative. Not everything that looks aligned is sustainable. Aligned. That word hit like a grenade. Because for months, fans swore they were alignment personified. The red carpet chemistry, the synchronized rise, the art house visuals, the way they moved like they shared a private frequency. Now he's implying it was never built to last. And here's where it gets even heavier. Aaron didn't blame cheating. He didn't blame schedules. He didn't even blame fame. He said, sometimes two people can be good for each other in a moment and wrong for each other in the momentum. Moment versus momentum. That distinction is surgical because it suggests the love was real, but the speed, destructive. Insiders claim this wasn't a mutual slow fade. They're whispering about emotional misalignment, clashing control over narrative, and a private argument weeks before the split that allegedly left both of them shaken. One source says there was a night in London where voices were raised behind a hotel suite door. Another claims a text thread surfaced where one of them wrote, "I feel like I'm disappearing." Disappearing into what? Each other, the spotlight, or someone else's shadow. And then there's the rumor that sent Twitter into meltdown mode that Aaron allegedly told a confidant he felt marketed. Marketed. Like the relationship was part of something bigger than romance. And if that's even half true, we're not talking about heartbreak. We're talking about image warfare. Because when two stars rise at the exact same time, love doesn't just get tested, it gets commodified. And Aaron breaking his silence like this? It suggests he's done letting the internet write his side for him. But here's the part that has fans divided. He never said her name. Not once. Which means there's still something he's protecting, or something he's not ready to expose. And if the whispers about a leaked voice memo circulating in private industry chats are real, the clean breakup narrative might not survive the week. Because according to one insider, the real reason they split wasn't timing. It was power. The full clip dropped at 11:37 p.m. No warning, no press blast. Just a quiet upload to a niche film podcast channel that barely had 40,000 subscribers. And within 20 minutes, it had 500,000 views. Because Pierre wasn't vague, he was intentional. When the host gently referenced his recent breakup with Teyana Taylor, Aaron didn't flinch. He didn't smile it off. He didn't redirect. He exhaled. And then he said, "I value peace more than performance." Performance. That word shifted everything. Because for months, fans had treated their relationship like cinema. The gala photos, the artful black and white shoots, the escape room visual cameo, the birthday post that read like a vow. But now Aaron was implying something deeper. He continued, "There's a difference between being seen and being understood. Seen versus understood. Which means somewhere along the way, he felt visible, but not heard." Insiders are now claiming the cracks started forming long before the public noticed the silence. According to one anonymous production assistant who claims proximity to Teyana's music rollout, so the relationship became increasingly intertwined with branding moments, strategic appearances, coordinated timing, shared visibility at career peaks. And while none of that is inherently manipulative, the optics began to blur. One source alleges that Aaron privately expressed discomfort about their relationship becoming narrative fuel. Narrative fuel, as in something that feeds the machine. Then came the alleged text thread, unverified but circulating in private gossip circles. Hark, and a screenshot supposedly shows Aaron writing to a confidant. I don't want to feel like a chapter in someone else's storyline. If authentic, that sentence is devastating, because it implies imbalance, and imbalance in high-profile relationships doesn't just strain hearts, it fractures identity. But here's where it twists. Another insider close to Teyana's camp insists the dynamic was never about marketing. It was about momentum. Teyana was experiencing a career surge unlike anything she'd had before. Award buzz, directing deals, fashion campaigns, global visibility. Aaron, simultaneously, was stepping into blockbuster territory with franchise-level expectations. Two rockets launching at once, and rockets don't orbit gently. They explode outward. One source describes their final weeks together as airport love, 48-hour reunions, long-distance FaceTimes, public smiles masking private fatigue. But that doesn't explain Aaron's tone, because his tone wasn't tired. It was protective. When asked directly if there was betrayal involved, he paused and said, "No one cheated, but not all loyalty looks the same." That sentence sent Twitter into cardiac arrest. Not all loyalty looks the same. What does that mean? Emotional availability, public alignment, career prioritization. Fans immediately began dissecting old interviews. In one resurfaced clip, Teyana had said, "I'm walking a straight line, unarmed." Unarmed. At the time, it sounded poetic. Now it sounds like armor was already up. Then the London rumour resurfaced. Multiple sources claim there was a tense night in a luxury hotel suite weeks before the official split. Raised voices were allegedly heard by staff. Nothing violent, but heated. One alleged staffer claims they overheard a phrase shouted, "I won't dim again." Dim again. But that word alone pulled viewers back to Teyana's past comments about dimming her light in previous relationships. Was Aaron resisting being overshadowed? Or was she refusing to shrink? The power dynamic theory exploded overnight, and then, the leak. A 14-second voice memo, authenticity unverified, began circulating in industry group chats. In it, a male voice that some claim resembles Aaron says, "I need a partner, not a spotlight." If real, it reframes everything. Because now the breakup isn't about bad timing, it's about emotional alignment versus public amplification. Teyana has not responded directly, but she posted a studio clip yesterday. Headphones on, focused, no caption. The comment section is chaos. Half defending her, half accusing her of using momentum. Celebrity reactions are pouring in quietly. One A-list actress tweeted, "Success changes the temperature of relationships." A prominent music producer commented under a fan page, "Tit ambition doesn't apologize. Subtle, but loud." Meanwhile, Aaron's following has skyrocketed since the interview. Sympathy narrative building, mystery aura intensifying. But here's what makes this combustible. He never criticized her character. He criticized the environment, which suggests the villain might not be a person. It might be pace. Still, one final line from the interview refuses to stop trending. Aaron said, "We loved each other." But love isn't the only ingredient. If love wasn't enough, what was missing? Trust, privacy, power balance, or something none of us have even considered yet? Because insiders are hinting that one final revelation hasn't surfaced. Something that explains the sudden emotional withdrawal weeks before the public silence. And if that detail leaks, the timing narrative may collapse entirely. The detail everyone thought was a rumor just got louder. Because less than 24 hours after Pierre's interview went viral, an entertainment blogger with suspiciously precise timing dropped what they called context, not confirmation. Context. According to this blogger, the real fracture didn't begin with schedules. It began with a contract. Now, breathe. Because this is where it gets layered. The claim, unverified but spreading fast, suggests that during the rollout of Teyana Taylor's visual project, There were discussions about how much of Aaron's involvement would be featured in promotional material. Cameo versus co-star. Appearance versus narrative anchor. And insiders are whispering that Aaron was uncomfortable with the relationship being subtly woven into the marketing arc. One source allegedly close to his team said, "He didn't want to be a campaign." Campaign. That word detonated. Because now the breakup isn't just about emotion. It's about optics. Another insider claims there was a tense meeting. Not romantic, not domestic, but professional. A discussion about press positioning, interview framing, red carpet timing. According to the source, Aaron expressed concern that his identity was being linked too tightly to her momentum narrative. And if that's true, this wasn't jealousy. It was autonomy. But then came the counter-leak. A stylist reportedly close to Teyana posted and quickly deleted a cryptic line. "Don't confuse collaboration with exploitation." Exploitation. Now we have two words colliding publicly. Campaign. Exploitation. And the internet chose sides instantly. Some fans argue Aaron underestimated how Hollywood works. That visibility during a career surge isn't manipulation, it's alignment. Others insist he was protecting his brand from becoming a subplot in someone else's Renaissance arc. But here's where it shifts from strategic to emotional. Another alleged text screenshot surfaced late last night. In it, a message attributed to Aaron reads, "I don't want to compete with your spotlight. Compete with your spotlight." That sentence cracked the narrative open, because competing implies imbalance, and imbalance implies someone feeling overshadowed. But insiders from Teyana's circle insist the dynamic was never competitive. They claim she actively supported his franchise announcements, showed up quietly, stayed gracious. One anonymous source stated, she never asked him to shrink. Shrink. That word echoes loudly considering her past statements about dimming her own light. Now both sides are accusing the other of subtle erasure. And that's when the London Night story grew teeth. A hospitality worker at the hotel allegedly described the argument as controlled but sharp, not screaming, but precise. One phrase reportedly overheard? "I won't relive that." Relive what? History, insecurity, control. Nobody knows. But the ambiguity feeds obsession. Meanwhile, Aaron's follow-up interview added more fuel. When asked if he regretted going public with the relationship so quickly, he answered, "Privacy is sacred. Exposure accelerates erosion." Exposure accelerates erosion, which many interpreted as a subtle critique of the soft launch intensity that followed their first public appearances. Fans immediately revisited the Vanity Fair after-party photos, the birthday post, the escape room kiss teaser. Was it authentic affection, or strategic amplification that burned too fast? Then came the most destabilizing rumor yet. A PR insider anonymously told a podcast that both teams had initially agreed to a low-noise approach to the relationship, meaning minimal interviews, minimal cross-promotion, minimal branding overlap. If that agreement existed, and one side deviated, tension would be inevitable. But here's the twist. No official document confirms such an agreement, which means we're operating on whispers layered over emotion, layered over ambition. And then something subtle but telling happened. Teyana unfollowed no one. She deleted nothing. She liked one of Aaron's career posts, which fans immediately labelled as mature, but critics called strategic optics, because even silence can be positioned. Meanwhile, Aaron has avoided saying her name entirely. In the latest clip, when the host referenced her directly, he said only, "I wish her light." Not happiness, not love, light. That word choice matters. Light can be distant, light can be admired from afar, but light can also blind. The comment sections are now unrecognizable. Some accuse him of subtle ego bruising. Others defend him as protecting emotional sovereignty. Celebrity commentary is escalating. One veteran actor tweeted, Our love requires one person to bend. A prominent director replied, or both to stand. Now it feels less like gossip, more like philosophy wrapped in fame. But the final twist is what's keeping everyone on edge. An insider claims there was a final private call days before the official split where one of them said, "I can't lose myself again." Again. That word suggests history repeating. And if history was repeating for either of them, then timing wasn't the problem. Patterns were. So now the question isn't who left, it's who felt erased. And if another voice memo surfaces, because insiders swear there's one more, the narrative might swing violently in one direction. Because if that recording confirms emotional displacement, this story stops being about bad timing and becomes about self-preservation. The final piece didn't leak, it surfaced. And the moment it did, the entire narrative tilted. Because at 6:04 p.m., in a follow-up sit-down that nobody knew was happening, Pierre finally said her name. Not dramatically, not bitterly, but deliberately. When asked directly about Teyana Taylor, he paused longer than before and said, "Teyana is extraordinary, but extraordinary things demand extraordinary space." Space. That word echoed like a cathedral bell, because for weeks the debate has been about power, spotlight, branding, timing. Now he's framing it as space. He continued, "When two people are ascending at velocity, something has to anchor the relationship, and if neither of you can anchor, you drift. Drift, not crash, not explode. Drift. Which makes the ending feel less scandalous and more tragic. But then came the sentence that fractured the internet in real time. I realized I was beginning to perform love instead of living it. Perform love. That line detonated everything. Because now the subtext is clear. Somewhere along the way, intimacy became optics. Emotion became expectation. Moments became content. And once love feels staged, even unintentionally, it corrodes. Insiders immediately revisited the red carpet chronology, the synchronized fashion choices, the escape room kiss that sent fans into hysteria, the birthday post that read like a vow. Were those moments authentic? Or were they amplified into something neither of them could sustain privately? Aaron clarified, there was no villain, but there was pressure. Pressure from fans, pressure from headlines, pressure from industries that monetize chemistry. He didn't accuse her. He accused the velocity. And then he said something that reframed the entire saga. I didn't want to be her pause, and I didn't want her to be my compromise. Pause. Compromise. Those are not words of resentment. They're words of restraint. Because if staying together required one of them to slow down, dim down, or bend, someone would lose themselves. And if you've ever felt yourself disappearing inside momentum, can't you recognize that fear instantly? But here's where it gets painfully human. Aaron admitted the breakup wasn't explosive. It was quiet. Sometimes the loudest decisions are made in whispers, he said, which suggests there was no final scream, no shattered glass, just a conversation that neither of them wanted but both understood. Meanwhile, Teyana has remained silent, but sources say she watched the interview. And insiders claim her response to a close friend was simple. He told his truth. Not he lied, not he twisted it. He told his truth. That phrasing matters, because it implies dual realities. His truth, her truth, both valid, both incomplete without the other. Celebrity reactions are spiraling. One R&B singer commented under a fan page, "Love in public is a gamble." A film executive tweeted, "Momentum kills intimacy if you don't guard it." And fans? They're split again. Some accuse Aaron of soft ego protection. Others praise him for refusing to villainize her. But the most haunting part came at the very end of the interview. The host asked if he believes in reunion arcs. Aaron smiled slightly and said, Timing changes. Not never, not impossible. Timing changes. That sentence reopened every door. Because if timing was the fracture, then timing could theoretically be the repair. Oh, but here's the sobering twist insiders are whispering now. Both camps allegedly agreed not to release further details. No receipts, no counter-voice memos, no dueling narratives, protection over spectacle, which might be the most mature scandal Hollywood has seen in years. And yet, it still feels unfinished. Because when two people drift due to ambition, the ending doesn't feel like betrayal. It feels like interruption, the kind that leaves a question mark hanging in the air. Were they too early? Or simply too bright at the same time? Aaron's final words before the camera cut were almost poetic. We loved honestly. We left intentionally. And maybe that's the real reason they split. Not cheating, not scandal, not image warfare. But the terrifying realization that sometimes love isn't enough when both people are becoming too fast to hold each other still. But here's the cliffhanger nobody's acknowledging. Awards season is around the corner. Shared circles mean shared rooms. And if timing changes, so can everything else. If you just watched all of that unfold and you're not sitting there rethinking everything you thought you knew about this breakup, we need to talk. Because this wasn't just another Hollywood couple calls it quits headline. This was two rising forces, Aaron Pierre and Teyana Taylor, colliding at full speed, loving in real time, and walking away before either of them lost themselves in the process. No cheating scandal, no messy screenshots, no public dragging, just ambition, ego, timing, and the brutal pressure of being watched while you're trying to build something real. So now I need to hear from you. Was this truly about momentum and space? Did the spotlight slowly erode something that could have lasted in private? Or are we still not getting the full story? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't hold back. I'm reading everything. And listen, if you don't want to miss what happens next, because awards season is coming, red carpets are lining up, and timing changes is not a sentence you say casually, then you need to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications right now. Because if they cross paths again, if one of them speaks again, if timing actually shifts, you're going to want to be here when it does.